Module 70, and we've got Check Your Understanding Part A. And in this, we're gonna talk about, explain how each of the following events would affect the equilibrium rental rate and the equilibrium quantity in the land market. So for the first one, it says developers improve the process of filling in coastal waters with rocks and soil to form new areas of land. So that's an increase in the supply of land. Therefore, we would expect the rental rate or the price to decrease and the quantity to increase. For Part B, it says new fertilizers improve the productivity of each acre of farmland, and that's going to increase the MRP because the MP times the P, right? And the MP is what's going up here, and that is equals the demand going up. So therefore, we would expect the rental rate to rise and the quantity to rise in the market. For question number 2, explain the following statements. When firms in different industries all compete for the same land, the MRP of the last unit of land rented will be equal across all firms, regardless of whether they are in different industries. And that is true, and the explanation can simply be because even though they're different industries, they form one market for land. And when they do, then the rental rate is the rental rate of basically the last unit of land is that idea. Sorry, I'll back up there, because each industry basically rents until the MRP for the land equals R. The last unit of land rented in each of the different industries has the same MRP of land. So this is kind of a wonky question, and I don't know that they really need you to explain a whole lot with number 2. Let's take a look at the multiple choice questions with this one. The implicit cost of capital that you own is simply the rental rate, and that's because that's the price of the capital if you choose to rent it to someone else, and you're giving up that choice if you own it. What you're giving up is the implicit cost or the rental rate. Number 2, which of the following is true in relation to a very steep supply curve for land? So I, relatively elastic, that wouldn't necessarily be true, it would be more inelastic. Double I, the quantity of land is very responsive to price changes. That's the same as statement 1, so that would also not be true. And finding new supplies of land is relatively expensive and difficult. That's true for a really steep supply curve for land. So the correct answer here is C only. 3 only. Number 3, the explicit cost of land that you don't own is equal to, again, the rental rate. So this question and this question are basically the same. They're just asking you it in a slightly different way. They're saying, hey, if you don't own the land or the capital, then the cost of it, the explicit cost, is what it costs to rent it, the rental rate. Number 4, a firm will continue to employ more land until its MRP is equal to the rental rate. And that is to say, like, what the price of the land is. So C. And that's assuming it's perfectly competitive, right? Assuming perfect competition is probably a better way that they could have phrased that. Because if it's a monopsonistically competitive one, then actually they will continue to employ land until the MRP of the land is equal to the MFC of the land. That's technically more accurate than what they wrote here with number 4. Number 5, according to the marginal productivity theory of income distribution, and this is just the general idea behind all of like that MFC equals the MRP, and that we hire that quantity of whatever factor it is. This is that marginal productivity theory says that that each factor is going to be paid the equilibrium of the MRP. So the correct answer is E. That basically you will get paid the equilibrium if the MRPs are here and this is the supply, and we could argue that that's the supply of labor here, you would get paid that equilibrium value. Okay. So now on to free response question. Number 2. Draw a correctly labeled graph for the land market in which land is in fixed supply. Okay. So this is quantity of land. We'll move that up there. And the rental rate of land. So we're going to use R. good to have land. And here we'll have land, and we'll say the supply of land, right? And then it says, I guess we also need the MRP, or the demand for land. So that's the MRP of land and the demand for it. And then it says label each of the following: the axes, done; the supply and demand, done; the equilibrium rental rate. So we'll just say R star, done; the equilibrium quantity and quantity star, done; shade and label the area that represents economic rent. So this is the idea that anything above the minimum willingness to bring it to market is rent. And so this is the entire area of rent, because the minimum price that they would have been willing to supply it for is 0, right? Because here, that point actually says that there is a certain quantity, Q star, of land that's being supplied at even a price of 0. That's shouldn't be shocking if we understand that really what that's saying is that the land exists, and therefore it is willing and able to be supplied. And so the price that they get, which is to say R star, the value that they get for the land, exceeds 0, right? R star is greater than 0. And so for every quantity of land that's bought and sold, there's some amount of difference between 0 and R star for all of these. And that is the, and I'll say this, kind of quote-unquote unearned benefit that is accruing to the people who are owning land. And we talked a little bit about this in class. You might want to check out Georgism, which is a kind of related idea that says, hey, this unearned benefit is not fair. Okay, so hopefully this helped you understand a little bit of the land market, and I'll see you next time.